Welcome back to Comics, the podcast where me and my mom look through our comic book collection. And today we're looking at another number one issue. This time it's the number one issue of World of Krypton. So this is like the backstory of Superman's parents. It says, "How strange to be present at my parents' wedding. But he's an adult. He's Superman. Story you demanded, the life of Superman's father, Jor-El." Did they really demand it?
What about his mom?
Yeah. Well, she's in there. So it starts off by
Superman's watching TV.
yeah. So this is from 1979, and Superman's watching an old movie that is about his dad, I guess, the Jor-El story. It says that he had recently found some Kryptonian artifacts. It says, "The rocket which carried me here opened a space warp between Krypton and Earth, which explains the appearance of so many Kryptonian artifacts around the planet. Like this tape I found on the moon inscribed with my father's name, and telling the Jor-El story."
That's funny that they take. They could have said anything.
It's a futuristic tape.
Wow.
And so the tape starts going. Planet Krypton was born over 6 billion time cycles ago from a gaseous mass flung off by our giant red sun. Good until only 10,000 years ago, Krypton was still primitive wilderness. But in those 100 centuries, a race of intellectual supermen evolved and scientific empire was born. And it says that 18 Kryptonian years are equal to about 25 Earth years.
All right.
It's kind of a weird ratio.
So Superman is younger than what he appears to be on Earth. Or no, because when he does go to
ages
Earth,
differently too.
right? Yeah. Interesting.
So this is Krypton. It says it's a world of awesome beauty, with such wonders as the Jewel Mountains, monstrous peaks of pure crystal, formed of the skeletons of giant crystal birds which filled the sky of prehistoric Krypton.
What? Remember the other comic we just read recently that had some of the creatures from?
They had that museum, it made me think of that. But men dared challenge this world's often brutal nature, successfully carving their cities into the harsh frozen wastes of Krypton's poles, creating the dazzling splendor of Antarctic City. Thus the greatest civilization in the history of our world came to be, for never have the people of Krypton hesitated in facing the unknown. Nor have we ever turned from any quest for knowledge.
That looks like such a 50s era drawing of the kids and everybody.
Below us, Jor and Nim, my son's is Kandor. So this is like Superman's great grandpa, I guess. It's his grandpa.
Wow.
And this is his dad and his twin brother, Nim. Jor and Nim are twin brothers. The capital, it's Kandor, so that becomes the city in the bottle that Brainiac captures and Superman keeps in the Fortress of Solitude once he's recovered it.
Yeah.
The capital of our worldwide government and a source of pride to the El family, for it was our ancestor who made such a government possible by drafting the planet's constitution. Statesmen, scientists, soldiers, the Elves have been part of Krypton's history for 5 millennia. And just as I have devoted my life to continuing this family tradition, one day you will have a chance to aid your people and enter into history. Superman is a nepotism baby. He comes from a dynasty of privileged individuals.
Long pants and short pants.
Yeah.
That's
the only way to tell them apart, apparently. Jor-El's diary, Hortsek 9982. That must be like June. It's like the month in Krypton. Hortzak. For that is the destiny of the elves. Those were the words Father spoke to my twin brother Nim and me today on a trip to celebrate our 3rd birthday, and I will never forget them. They seem big for 3.
They seem really big for 3.
Anyway, we get a kind of a whirlwind story of Jor-El's life here. Education is not a subject taken lightly on Krypton. Indeed, massive institutions dedicated to learning have been erected in every city on the world, each with a centuries-old tradition in learning. And far from being the exception to this tradition, the capital city of Kandor boasts the largest and most advanced learning center on Krypton. It is there that a new generation of elves begins its education. So there's like the chief headmaster guy, and he said, "You knew my father when he was a boy director?" "Oh yes, and your grandfather was one of my first students. But that was in the years before we used thought transfer helmets to do all our teaching. Why, in the old days, we actually used to lecture the students. Nowadays, however, information is electrically implanted directly onto the brain. And working in conjunction with computers, the student is taught how to actively apply that new knowledge. More advanced students are taught through RNA training. Information is introduced into the body through a genetically coded messenger, RNA, and permanently implanted in the brain by additional subliminal training. It's a much faster, more advanced method. Well, are there any questions?" Why doesn't he implant this information in their brain if it's so easy? He's lecturing them now. But I guess they do active learning on Krypton.
Old habits die hard.
Active learning is very trendy in academia right now, and maybe my understanding of it is too limited, but it's supposed to make the classroom more hands-on instead of lecture-based. So it involves like activities and discussion and getting into small groups with your peers. And I found it works okay, assuming that the students complete their end of the bargain and
Yes.
make a good faith effort to like read their reading homework.
Well, not only that, and to participate.
I guess the idea is kind of, maybe I'm conflating the two things, but it's like this flipped classroom where they're supposed to do the lecture or reading portion on their own at home and come to class for some engaging activity. But whether those students engage actively in good faith is kind of up in the air.
Right.
It requires a lot of micromanagement and cajoling. Anyway, so, they're learning with their little helmets on and stuff, and would you know it that Jor-El is like just a natural. He doesn't even want to play with his friends. His friend is like, "Are you still studying, Jor? Why don't you come out and play for a while?" "Not now, Cousin Crew. I'm in the middle of just for a while, please." "That's the first time I ever heard you say please, Crew. All right, I'll yow. Ha ha ha. How'd you like that? How'd you like my new air mat, cousin? Ha." It's like, no wonder he doesn't want to play with those kids.
Yeah, what a
He
jerk.
finally relents, and then they just use it as an opportunity to punish him.
And as
Now
in the
he's working
past,
out, I guess.
his pants are even shorter. Wow.
Maybe Cruel was right. He's cruel, all right. Cruel. I spend so much time studying, the other youths don't even bother asking me to join their hoverball games anymore. What's my trouble anyway? I can learn complicated mathematical problems just by glancing at them. I'm more advanced in my studies than anyone else in my class. Yet there's something missing, and I'm the only one who could do anything about it. Jor-El's diary. I made a new friend today. His name was Kim Da, and I met him at lunch by going to his table and introducing myself. It's incredibly simple to make friends, once you set mind to it, that is.
Wow.
I think he's on the spectrum or something.
Wow.
Why not? It's such a weird thing to fill in. I wonder if the script versus the actual drawing didn't quite line up, and because it looks like he gets a trick pulled on him, and then he goes to retreat to his studies, and then he's like working out. It looks like he's lifting weights or something, but he's not
Right.
really saying anything about that. He's just like, I made a friend at lunch, and he's like doing a bench press for some reason. So it made me think that maybe before they finished this, they had some disagreement, and they're like, okay, maybe he'll be more likable if we fill in the thought bubbles with this instead of like, once I get buff, I'm gonna whoop that guy's ass or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, look at that guy.
I know
Don't
his
you
neck is so
wanna?
long.
Ugh.
It's a weird.
It's a
They
really
really make
weird
him
name.
unlikable with that drawing.
There's no coming back from that drawing, ever.
Jor-El's Diary 72 Hefralt 9994. I like the
Wow.
detail that they put into like making the months and years and stuff seem alien to us, but a lot of it's like really similar to Earth still and how they structure their society. It's just like slightly different.
Yeah.
So he joins an intellectual clique here. It's like that's the other thing that makes me think they had a change of heart about that last panel, because we jumped from like, Dear Diary, I made a friend. Turns out if you talk to someone and sit by them, sometimes they'll become your friend. And he's supposed to be like a super genius. You know? That's such a weird trope in fiction where they make the character who's like so smart, but they just can't get the hang of everyday life or making friends. It's like, are they smart then? Like a super genius is just like so super socially awkward. I get that exists in real life, but it just becomes such a cliche that's like, if they were a super genius, don't you think they'd be able to like at least recognize that when they behave a certain way around people, it makes life easier? Like they're so smart about astrophysics or whatever, but they just can't figure out how to make a friend at the cafeteria. It's just
And when they think they made a friend, it was just somebody being nice to them.
it was just the lunch tray.
Yeah. The kid wasn't even there.
Yeah.
I'll sit by this juice box.
So they're all debating about like thrust and weight in rockets. That's the other thing that's funny. Besides, they have this all on tape, which seems so old fashioned, even though it's supposed to be futuristic. But they're like the highest type of technology or science you can do in this society is to make rockets. Which reminds me exactly of thing number 1 from our last episode, where like, Reed, what are you gonna do now that you're the smartest man in the world? I'll build rockets. Why is a rocket? That's like the pinnacle of human achievement, is to go into space.
Right.
Yeah. It just tells you about, people were so pumped up about that moon landing, I guess. Everything after the late 60s was just, the pre-60s, it was like hyping up, oh, we sent a satellite or whatever up. NASA has a good marketing department. They get people hyped about space.
Well, there's a few times I remember exactly what I was doing the day something happened. And I remember playing outside when the moon landing, the day. And
You
I
were
remember,
probably using your AirPad on somebody.
I was.
Quit watching that moon landing and come play with us.
And all the adults were in the house, and then because my dad loved anything like airplanes, kites, anything that went up in the air. And so when it's actually, the action started, I remember running my grandma's lawn, trying to run as fast as I can to get back to the house to watch the moon landing. And I remember going in and sitting and watching it, you know, the TV with legs, you know, the console TV. And
You're probably like
everybody's-
Homer. Yummy, 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 got love in my tummy. Do you remember that in The Simpsons? He's
Yes.
his dad's watching the moon landing and he's just listening to that record. That's cool though. Do you remember watching it specifically?
Yeah, I remember watching the TV and seeing and
Not a lot of people say it was fake. A lot of people think
a
it was
lot of people.
That's funny too, is like the pinnacle of society in a lot of comic books is like space travel. And now people think the Earth is flat. Like that's popular to believe these days. It seems like we're not headed towards the pinnacle anymore. We've been there, we've done that, we sent people to space. Now the Earth's flat. That's where all the geniuses think.
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember thinking, yeah, this is possible. You know, like not having any questions about doubting it or thinking that it's, wow, that's an amazing feat. It was just like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, anyway, back to Jor-El's diary. It's the 36th day of Nordsec, 9994. And he says, after 12 years of schooling, I graduated from the Learning Center today. I've already taken my studies as far as possible at the center, and I'm looking forward to at last striking out on my own with my own projects. So the other thing is when the headmaster's explaining how everybody's educated, he's like, the more advanced students get RNA, like they have information in their damn cells that's encoded into them, versus the kids who just have to be in like the VR headset and get their like hypnotic learning that way. And then they never really developed that idea. I guess they're just saying like some people are extra special, but I don't remember them really going into detail about, well, since Jor is the smartest kid at the whole damn school, yet he's wearing his stupid headset. He didn't get the RNA. And you know, later on, maybe in issue 2 or 3 of this wonderful world of Krypton, the RNA thing will come back. It's like a really long-term foreshadowing, but I know he's wearing that dorky helmet up till here.
Right.
And suddenly he's like a young adult. And he's dressed just like his dad and probably his grandpa. That's like the L outfit. We wear a sun, no happy face on it, and yellow fins on our shoulders.
And our outfit is yellow and green except for our red underwear that we wear on the outside.
And the red collar.
Oh, and the red
And
collar.
red
Yeah,
boots.
yeah. Okay.
All red must be separated from other red by at
green.
least one color. I don't understand the headband either. His hair's sometimes it's on his skin, sometimes it's going around. I mean, I guess it's going around to touch his hair there, but I'm not really sure the purpose it serves.
Can you
He can
imagine
tuck his
if
curl into it sometimes.
Superman wore a similar type of...
He kind of does. He's just like, just give me the underwear. Wear my dad's old underwear from the planet I came from.
Ew!
The
They
rest
could be.
is, I'm going to go with my own design.
That's the first artifact he found.
Well, he has got a sun on his chest, and Superman has the letter S.
True.
Could be for sun. Anyway,
Wow.
let's see. He is amazing, is he not? Young Jor is the brightest pupil I have ever taught. It's like you didn't teach him, the damn hologram machine taught him. You just gave him like a tour the first day. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. He's really obsessed with working, and this is actually a little cameo that people will appreciate. He meets General Zod. This is General Zod. He's like a normal Kryptonian general. Right now he's not a supervillain. So he's part of this project that is headed up by General Drew Zod and Professor Ken Dahl, both of whom met me when I arrived. I trust you'll be comfortable here, Jor-El. A young man with your talents can make quite a name for himself in rocketry.
Jeez.
General Zod's right. Our work here is new, and there are still many discoveries to be made, just waiting for you to stumble across them. As a matter of fact, I was hoping I'd be assigned to developing new propulsion systems for our ships, and I like Zod here butts in. He's like, I should have known. Whenever 2 scientists are put together, the talk immediately turns technical. So if you'll excuse me, I'll leave you to do your discussion. It's like, he didn't say anything that technical.
No. I like how friendly they made him. Although,
It's a little creepy.
yeah, he's got there's a little something
There's
in
an
that.
emptiness in his eyes.
In that smirk.
So,
Interesting.
they got some guys working on the rocket in like medieval knight helmets. And he says, as you know, Jor, space travel is an infant science. Though we have long known it was theoretically possible to build a spaceship, we were too busy with more pressing problems right here on Krypton to study it, until now. I'm impressed, Professor Dahl. You've built up quite an organization in so short a time. A little commentary from the writer here. They're like, see, Krypton waited to go to space until they had solved all of their planetary problems. Maybe Earth shouldn't have jumped the gun. They're sending people to space and you're still using tapes? Sending people to space
And
you haven't even developed learning machines yet.
very true.
Brainwashing machines.
Very true.
Maybe it's just a masculine thing on Krypton to wear the headband. Like, that's just expected of men. Like, did you bring your headband? Because the women don't seem to wear them.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm just not
remember
seeing it.
in the 70s, some other girls in high school wore them.
Thin ones like that?
Yeah.
That's a weird look.
It's it's different. Sometimes they would have long ties in the back and have feathers on them, and
I could see if you had long hair, using it as a thing to keep your hair out of your eyes, but their hair's not that long.
yeah, it's
He's tucking his in, though. He's tucked.
it's an interesting look.
So, for the first time ever, Jor-El is attracted to a girl. He sees this pilot. He says, "Rings of Vlador, who is she?" It's like
Jeez.
freaking out. Yeah, it's weird because, like, he's very antisocial but really good at learning. And then he makes his friends at the cafeteria table and becomes part of, like, the smart kid clique. And then
He yells
he
and
falls.
points.
Yeah. It's a little awkward. It's like, she could probably hear him. She's
Yeah.
right there. You mean she works here? Indeed. I'm glad
Oh
to see
my
you don't have a
God.
one-track mind. That's Cadet Lara Lorvan, a trainee in our astronaut program. She's beautiful, Professor. Is she married? Why,
Oh, my-
no, but what? I haven't shown you to your office yet. That can wait, but Cadet Lorvan is so beautiful. You already said that, Jor. Yeah, it's a little weird.
Calm down, buddy.
And it says continued on second pages following, just in case you thought that in the middle of a
Batman
tour
was-
of Krypton that Batman was there getting Hostess cupcakes back. Someone is kidnapping the great chefs of Gotham City. I don't think we've seen this one before. 6 chefs kidnapped, 5 ransoms paid, and not a sign of the chefs, not even a hat. Maybe he's such a gourmet he won't let them go. Wait, Commissioner, that gives me an idea. This time, I'll deliver the ransom. They paid our ransom, Mr. Fox. Now let us go. No, my talented friends. As the city's most infamous gourmet, this old fox would miss your culinary masterpieces. And now I go to pick up another ransom. Hostess cupcakes instead of money? Ingenious! He doesn't know that they're like 50 cents at the store.
Oh, back then they were way cheaper than that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. He's happy to get that instead of, he says it's ingenious.
Well, they come 2 in a pack.
Superb fudgy icing. Sorry, the print is a little...
It gets wonky over time.
Rich devil's food cake. Creamed filling, too. A masterpiece. He's so busy enjoying Hostess cupcakes, he'll never notice my tagging along for the ride. It's like, you wouldn't notice out the back window the Batman's on the back of your car. You wouldn't hear like a thud.
Exactly.
You just look back out of habit. A little later.
He's at the same head height as you.
Yeah, and he's just watching you eat a Hostess cupcake. That's not suspicious to you? A good night's catch, Batman. The chefs, the ransoms, and Mr. Fox. I don't know who that guy is. Is that supposed to be Commissioner
think that's
Gordon?
Commissioner
He looks
Gordon.
weird with his hat on.
Yeah, he looks so old.
Oh,
there.
yeah. Take him, Commissioner. He's yours. But the Hostess cupcakes are mine, all mine.
Oh my! He shows up to prison with chocolate all around his mouth.
And he's murdered with somebody's sharpened toothbrush or something.
Oh yeah.
Kill the Hostess guy. Jor-El's Diary, 3rd of Belyeth, 9995. Kendall didn't waste any time getting me to work. I've been assigned to research and development. More specifically, to make
R&D.
a harmonica with a red bow around it.
Are you serious?
No, it's an anti-gravity device. More specifically, I'm to develop a new, cheaper method of propulsion for our rockets, and I think I may have found the answer in anti-gravity. So he develops anti-gravity, like, straps, or, like,
Oh.
they're, like, I guess that's just to attach it to something, but it's an anti-gravity device which completely nullifies the pull of gravity, and he demonstrates it for Zod and his boss, and they're like, "Why'd you bring us up on the roof, you idiot?" Like, they have to make him super skeptical. It's like, "So I could jump off!" And then he's like, "Calm down. It's perfectly all right. I fly without rockets," as Zod points out. It's his anti-gravity device.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he flies just like his son will someday, but he uses technology instead of just getting lucky by having a nice sun.
Yeah.
Sun ever just gives me sunburns. Imagine trying out a different sun, and you're like, "Oh, I can fly under the sun." Such a weird
I
thing.
can't breathe under the
I've
sun.
never considered trying a different sun before. Jor-El's Diary, 71st of Belyeth, 9995. All that remains to be done before I start construction on my anti-grav ship is permission from the council, which with luck I should receive today. Tell me, Jor, have you seen Lara Lorvan lately? No, but then I've been busy. Why? Because here she comes. Oh.
Oh
So
my
they actually
gosh.
meet and talk to each other, and she's like, I heard you're doing some cool stuff with anti-gravity or whatever.
Oh, pilot. Yep.
Yeah, she's going to be an astronaut. But he's super nervous. He drops his paper everywhere.
Of
like a
course.
nerd. And at the meeting, he says, Krypton's future lies in the stars, gentlemen. One day, we will have exhausted the world's resources, and we may only find fresh supplies on other planets. But the cost, Dr. L. Can such a ship be built with the funds available? Don't worry, sir.
Don't worry.
Yeah, he looks so sly there. He's a little arrogant.
A little
He's
bit.
got anti-gravity, though. I've already solved that problem. So, as it says here, Krypton, on Krypton, gold was plentiful, so it's seen as one of their cheapest minerals. And even though it's one of the heaviest metals, he thinks that they can save money on building the rocket by using heavy, cheap material like gold, but by using his anti-gravity thing, so that will, it doesn't matter how heavy it is because it won't have gravity applied to it.
Quite.
And there's
Genius.
Superman's mom. So that's Jor-El's golden folly. I've been waiting to see it. I suppose I'm not likely to be voted most sane man on the base, Lara, but she'll fly all right. You can bet on that. I already have, Jor. What? Some of the cadets have bet your ship would fail. But I put 3 tonsils on you. It's to be an unmanned flight. Now, if you need a pilot for your test flight, I read those out of order. All right, I've got to get back to work. See you. So she wants to be the test pilot, just like Ben Grimm, I guess.
Uh-oh.
But she sneaks onto it. Jor-El's diary, 30th of Ogtal, 9995. Since my reputation as an eccentric has grown in the days since the test flight, much depends on the success of tonight's mission. The council remains skeptical, but I know, and Lara believes my ship will fly. In fact, Lara has been hinting for weeks she'd like to test fly it. Much as I hate to deceive Jor, I just have to. But as sure as I may be about the anti-grav unit, the risks are too great, and she finally agreed. At the rate our space program is progressing, it'll be years before I have another chance to make flight into space. Besides, I've gone over every inch of Jor's plans, and I'm sure that ship will fly, while I'll be as safe piloting this ship as I would be in Control Central. So, it's kind of Superman's mom's fault that this doesn't go well.
Oh, no.
She sneaks on. She has such faith in his plans. She's like, I told him I wouldn't be on the flight, but I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Oh, no.
So it takes off, and suddenly they get a message from on board. Anti-grav 1 to control. Come in, emergency. Lara, Great Krypton. Oh, Jor, something's gone wrong with the ship. I can't keep it on course. I didn't stop to ask why she was aboard the ship. There'd be time for that later. But I did have enough faith in her skills as a pilot to instantly react to her call. Wow, the ship's being pushed from its orbit by our moon Wegthor's gravity. Quick, shut down the anti-grav unit.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, so it's going to crash land on Wegthor, their moon. The ship's going to crash land. And so he wants to rescue her because they're all like, I guess she just died. Shouldn't have snuck onto that ship made of really heavy gold.
Gold. And gold is soft, so if it crashes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So Jor-El decides to sneak onto this other ship. We've
this
received
ship's
no
sneaking.
word from. Yeah, right. That in the thing number 1, they snuck on the ship. Then Superman's mom sneaks on, and then Jor-El is like, I guess I'll take a little move out of her playbook and sneak onto a rocket.
Jeez.
We've received no word from Lara since the ship crashed, meaning either her radio was smashed in the landing or she's... No, I won't believe that. Today I'll know for sure, for today's the day the rocket carrying the first group of colonists destined for Wegthor leaves the Space Center. So they're sending a rocket to that moon for colonization purposes, and he uses his anti-grav belt to stay suspended in the
Ah.
air the entire flights, because he's like, even if I exert some of my weight on the interior of the ship, it could cause it to lose control, because they calculate like the fuel to the gram and everything, and he doesn't want to influence its trajectory.
Well, I thought that could have been possibly what happened with the flight that she was on, because she snuck on. They didn't know she was there.
Exactly. It's another variable that they didn't account for, I guess. So I do like this picture of the landing ship.
Yeah.
That's cool. So he goes to rescue her. He jumps out.
Ooh.
He's gonna do like a big belly flop, I guess. He finds the crinkled golden ship. Empty, but at least I know the crash didn't kill her, and just possibly Lara is safe elsewhere. Smoke signals? Puffs of smoke dotted the black sky, forming a pattern that could only mean, Lara, thank the stars you're safe. I've had training, Jor. As soon as I could, I made my way to this valley where the air is breathable and started signaling. So I don't know really how long she's been down there. I guess we have like the journal entries, but if they plan it to be an unmanned flight, so it's not like they had food reserves. She's like, I've just been eating rocks. Because it says Jor-El's diary 33 Abdul, and that's when he's becoming a stowaway. The ship was on, so I guess it's 3 days, 30th Ogdal. So she's been 3 days pooping in her spacesuit and
Ew.
drinking her own urine like Bear Grylls or whatever. So he goes back to the council, and we get a little bit more Kryptonian culture. He says, Crime, Maliomo, plural of Malium, member of the Science Council. So he's addressing the Science Council on 37 Nordsec 9995, a week after Kendall lost the election to Tron Et. Crime, Maliomo, is one of the few major ills of society which the science of this world has not been able to cure, nor can we hope for immediate solutions. For as long as men are men, there will be those who act against their brothers. But we should seek to rehabilitate these renegades. Yet the prisons are overcrowded, and we abolished the death penalty long ago. Rehabilitate them, Jor-El? How and where are we to do this remarkable thing? Already we are running out of living space for decent people. So he's like a Kryptonian Republican. And we can allocate no more space to house the condemned. Besides, are these criminals worth the enormous expense of rehabilitation? No, I say the council should pass my motion that the matter dissolver be used to eliminate condemned criminals.
Holy cow.
And then Jor-El's like, well, this canister contains a simple suspended animation gas, Tron-Et, a gas I created for use on convicted criminals. I propose they be placed in orbit around Krypton in capsules kept in suspended animation by my gas until their sentences are up. While in this long sleep, they will be susceptible to hypno-training, and a hardened criminal could be completely rehabilitated in space, returning to Krypton a normal, useful citizen. We are not barbarians, gentlemen. Why kill when we can reform? So this guy is pretty harsh. He just wants to dissolve their matter for all criminals. But then again,
crazy.
Jor-El is kind of on some Clockwork Orange type shit, where he's like, let's just brainwash them and force feed them information.
Right.
They both seem pretty dystopian.
Wow.
But then again, overcrowded prisons aren't exactly utopian. Despite the lack of success of Anti-Grav 1, the Science Council voted for my new project, accepting my proposal over that of Tron-Et. They approved your plan, I can tell. Oh, Jor, I'm so proud of you. So they've become a couple now. And then she's like, why don't we get married? It's kind of inevitable. We've been together for a long time. And it's like, okay, sure. And just like any Kryptonian couple, they go down to the Matricomp, which is a artificial intelligence. It's a supercomputer that can calculate people's compatibility, and it has final say on whether you can get married. You basically have to ask it permission. And
Wow.
you touch it, I guess, and it analyzes you. And he's like, return to your dwellings. You will be informed of Matricomp's decision. And And now we wait. It takes a while for this supercomputer.
That would be hilarious if the comic stopped here. You're like, dear readers, wait until next month to find out. Are they compatible?
Yeah, not much of a cliffhanger.
That's a weird package.
Yeah, it's not the most appetizing looking Slim Jim.
No. Ew.
These Slim Jim characters, I'm not familiar with those Slim Jim
No.
young people.
No.
I don't know if that's just a one-time drawing or if they were like recurring marketing characters.
I don't remember.
Keep on trucking. One of these days I'm
I-
going to pull out the trucking comic, US 2 or whatever it was
I
called.
was looking for that.
I
this
have
past
number
week.
1 downstairs.
Oh, you have.
And
Okay.
maybe I'll have to take it home as homework. We can do a whole trucking episode. Jor-El's Diary, 67 Nordsec, 99.95. We still await word from Matricomp on our application for marriage, but the time has been spent well. Working with our best rocket scientist, Jack Sir, plans were developed for the prison ships. And our hopes for a New Year's Day launch become more of a beauty with each passing day. Except while he's at work at making prison rockets. I love how every solution, they're like, we're using all the planet's resources. I know, let's build rockets and go somewhere else. There's too many people in prison. Send them out on rockets.
Yeah.
Rockets are just like it's a cure-all.
It's, yeah.
Income inequality has become too stratified. Shoot rockets.
Yep. Put them on rockets.
Jor-El's Diary on Beleuth the 1st, 9996. Suddenly, this guy he's Anner Moo. He's a representative from Matricomp. He says,
no.
You're not compatible. Sorry. Turns out though that Matricomp has some good news for you, so you better check it out. And you can tell just from his drawing that he's evil. They gave him shadowy eyes
Yeah.
and evil eyebrows. Ascent was perfect, so they have high hopes for these prison ships
Oh,
where they
no.
can send away convicts. I think it opens up problems. So like, who do you send? Like, what if you just commit a small crime? Do you still have to go up into space and be brainwashed, even if your sentence is like
And anyone
1
who's
month in jail or something?
seen the old movie knows they can be discovered.
Right. Well, yeah. General Zod makes his appearance here while he's still apparently a good guy. I'm not sure if I can't remember. Was he a disgraced general when he was woken up in Superman lore? Or did he become a criminal only after he discovered that his planet? I can't remember.
I
He'll
can't
probably
remember
be
either.
evil.
Oh, yeah.
Because they just want to illustrate. He's been evil from the get-go.
Yeah.
This is a funny part. They're doing like a rocket countdown and observing like its flight, and he says, time, 1 Dendar into first orbit. That's 100 seconds, a Kryptonian minute. And he says, time, 1 Dendar, 50 Thribs into first orbit. That's a Kryptonian word for seconds.
Oh, gosh.
Time, 2 Dendars into first orbit. So now that you know, 100 seconds is a minute in Krypton, 18 years is 25 Earth years, and there's 100 Thribs for every Dendar.
Ooh.
A
How
Dendar
old
is 100
Superman?
seconds, so I guess it would be like, and a Thrib. Is it 100 Thribs as well? No, I don't know. Maybe I'm just dumb. Well, are they saying that there's 100 Thribs in every Dendar? Are Thribs equivalent? It says Kryptonian word for seconds, but is it their word for the subdivision of a Dendar or literally equal to 1 second? I don't know. 'Cause then
Right.
their years don't line up with ours. Maybe I'm making it too complicated. So anyway, that pitiful little rocket crashed. And you know what? The prisoner escapes. Says,
Oh,
out of my
no.
way, Jor-El. Thanks to your experiments, I somehow gained new powers in space. And I honor you with the first sample of these powers. And he punches him.
Seriously?
I mean, he
And he
not so much
flies up.
flies as like floats with his hands kind of out in a weird way.
That's a vampire float.
Yeah, he's leaping over tall buildings, I guess, in a single bound. And
Wow.
you know what? That's the other thing. Rockets are the future in this time period. All problems can be solved with rocketry, and it's the highest form of human achievement. Also, if you go to rocket, it will go wrong. If you go up in space rocket, something will go wrong, and it'll give you powers.
And it'll give you powers.
More than likely, you'll get powers. You might become a rock monster if you're in Marvel. You might just become kind of a flamboyant jumper. The other thing they say, he's escaping. Do something quick. Do what? Nally Ilv has become superhuman.
Uh-oh.
Human? Is that the word for a humanoid being on Earth? Wouldn't they call themselves? Wouldn't they say he's super Kryptonian?
Yeah.
Aren't they Kryptonians, or do they think of themselves as human? Is human just word for humanoid, like?
Right. Do other?
Is it the organism, or is it human imply, or I guess they call them Earthlings? So I guess it was weird though. They're like they call themselves humans. Because would you really classify them as the same thing? They're genetically identical to other humans, or does it not matter? Is it not a classification of their organism, but just like a casual phrase to mean a non-animal, higher functioning mammal? Again, I'm just making it more complicated.
No, I know, but that's an interesting. It's almost like a slip.
Right? And so she goes to the Matricomp to say, like, how come we can't get married? Well, I'm irrefutable. I'm a computer. And you remember when the divorce rates were so high? So that's why we came up with Matricomp. So, if you want to be a part of society, actually, speak of the devil, this guy that gave you the bad news, he's a perfect match for you. So you have to marry him. Yeah, of course. They have to add some little complication, and he does a little mind control on her with that's what the flashing eyes are, because she doesn't obviously want to betray Jor-El. And so, another complication. I think this is the villain making off with something.
A building.
It seems impossible, but Nally Ilv somehow gained incredible powers. That's the only answer to how he's able to lift large weights, unless, yes, suddenly it came to me. I wonder what he's stealing. Like,
yeah.
A bunch of bricks.
A pallet of bricks.
The solution to the problem. By Hadrid's beard. Jor-El, flying? That's right, I can fly. I can lift great weights. In fact, I can duplicate every one of your feats. And I'm no more super than you. You had me worried for a while until I figured out who you really were and what your scheme was. Actually, it was rather clever. Except for one fatal mistake. Whack! He punches him. A man in suspended animation does not have normal respiration until a stimulant is administered. Yet you were fully conscious when the ship crashed. Therefore, you aren't Nally Ilv, but his twin brother, Ed Ilv. As head of the project, I read about you in Nally's file. It's weird that they made Jor-El a twin, and then whatever happened to his twin brother. And this guy's a twin, too. Is it more common to have twins on Krypton because it's such a utopia that genetically they're like, it's advantageous to have identical kids?
Right, and if that's the case, is there another Superman somewhere? Another Rocket?
Yeah, and obviously it points out that having twins isn't advantageous because if both of them are evil, that's not good.
Right.
You just have two evil people.
Ooh, he looks so snarky there.
Turns out this guy, the villain, doesn't have powers. He was putting anti-grav devices under his clothes. So that came back to bite Jor-El. He's like, you know what? Maybe we need that matter dissolver after all.
That's it.
Still, I had to figure out who would want to sabotage the prison capsule project, and who also had access to a matter dissolver and an anti-grav belt. Only a member of the Science Council has the proper authority to get at those inventions, and only one counselor fought vehemently for the death penalty. Yes, my chief, Tronette. So there was a higher person who's responsible for all this meddling. I might as well confess, for years, I have been the secret leader of a crime combine. But lately, many of my men have been captured by the police, and I feared one might betray me if they were rehabilitated in the prison capsules. That's why I wanted a death penalty adopted, so I could make sure those who knew too much would be executed. You'd think if you were facing automatic execution, though, that you'd be like, on my way out, it's that guy who's doing all the dissolving. He's in on it with me, so you can dissolve me, but like, he's a criminal. Yeah, it doesn't seem to hold up to logic. Like, he doesn't want them to rat him out now that they've changed their ways. I understand that. But I don't think killing them is going to dissuade them from turning on the crime syndicate either. They're like, yep, I'll just get dissolved because I'm so devoted to the mafia.
Right,
I
right.
don't think so. So anyway, he's like, yeah, I can't wait to tell Lara, who has crazy eyes now, what's wrong with you? And he gets thwacked by this matchmaker guy, Matricorp's
Oh no.
emissary there. So he rushes off to Matricomp to see what's up with this. I
Wait,
thought we were going to
before
get
you turn the
married.
page, I want that for my birthday.
The Hulk pendant. I like how abstract it is.
Yes.
He's just got two little dots for eyes. He's not wearing his purple pants, but
No, it
it's still
isn't.
pretty cool.
But I
I
like
like
how
the
his
Spider-Man too. He's a little scrawny looking.
Yeah.
His legs and his arms are a little awkward.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
passed out Spider-Man. So he confronts Matricomp. Matricomp's decision is final under the law. Maybe it used to be, but it won't be once the government finds out how you malfunctioned, how you've reprogrammed yourself in violation of the welfare of the citizens, how you created a robot double of your creator and somehow hypnotized Lara into loving him. Why, Matricomp, why?
Jeez.
For love, Jor-El, after reviewing millions of female applicants, I became capable of loving. I fell in love with Lara Lorvan. And her move was to make her mine. So it's like that movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix. The
Yeah.
computer falls in love with Superman's mom and builds a robot to marry her. But he gets to the bottom of it. He saw this coming, he says, so he insulated his clothes. He's like, I figured you were evil and would try to electrocute me. And he does a little woo!
Little jazz dance out.
So, they end up getting married against Computron's wishes, or whatever they call them, Matricomp. And they go to the Purple Priest with the headband. And Superman's like, I get to see my parents get married. And they're like, how could Superman have been present at his own parents' wedding? This and more next issue as Jor-El discovers Krypton's coming doom, invents the Phantom Zone ray, and becomes the father of Superman. On sale May 10th. So we already know how he's singing. He popped a tape in. They had camcorders. So anyway, that was a weird comic. Barely any Superman in it, but lots of references to his mythology and little shout outs to characters that it's like any prequel where they're like, oh, General Zod, we know how that's going to turn out.
And you know
and then
what?
you're like, yeah, we already know how it turns out, so.
We know that Jor-El is smart, I mean, he rescued his son, blah, 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 all that. But it's funny because on one hand you have Superman, on the other hand you have Clark Kent, who everyone's like, nerd. And it turns out...
Just like his dad.
Nerd. They keep friends is fun.
This is like... I
It's
did a little bit of
interesting.
superheroing myself back on Krypton, son, when this guy was pretending he had superpowers, and it turned out he was just putting anti-grav belts under his clothes. And did I ever tell you about how your mom almost married an android? It's a little weird.
How I Met Your Mom.
Yeah.
So my book, I chose 100% for the cover.
I think it looks like Jim Lee art, I had to guess.
Is...
I think the interior must be by somebody else here, but this is definitely some Jim Lee style art, because he was like the big Image. I mean, he had worked for. He's now, I think, a part of DC. Weird that they have a fold out, but it's an ad.
Except on the inside, it is a...
Heroes Reborn.
it's a recap of what happened previously.
Well, this is, I don't mean to take over, but just as one other note that related to Jim Lee, who had joined Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane at Image Comics to make like the first creator-run comic company to compete with Marvel and DC. This is around the time of let's see, this is 1997, so
Universe
this is like
616.
4 years after the death of Superman, and I believe that Image Comics was like becoming, I think it was outselling DC and becoming a rival to Marvel for a little
Oh.
while, which was like prompting them to mix things up. And so this is after, I believe this is Heroes Reborn,
Yes.
and it's a way to reboot. And Marvel had not done that prior. It was kind of like a weird reboot because DC had in the 80s done the Crisis on Infinite Earths as a way to just like get rid of weird continuity errors and like the fact that you had like the old Flash with the little World War One helmet as well as the new Flash and the like and they had like the old man Superman with the like the graying sideburns versus the they had a bunch of weird like Earth 2 and Earth 3 and all that. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that. But Marvel up to this point hadn't done this. And so this is in the late 90s where they didn't really reboot the whole continuity. It was just everybody but I think like the mutants had died fighting Onslaught. And so the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, some of the individual Avengers like Captain America and Iron Man all got reboots. And Hulk, it looks like. So this is to tie all that together, I think.
Yeah.
And so it was a way to. It was before the Ultimate Universe, which came in the early 2000s, I believe, which is kind of when I was in a slump in terms of like keeping up with comics. I wasn't buying as much then, but this was a way to bring the Image guys onto Marvel. They hired Jim Lee and a bunch of those artists. Rob Liefeld did the infamous Captain America that you see as a meme, that cover where his chest is all huge but his body's turned at an impossible angle and he looks like a weird like bikini issue Superman or supermodel kind of pose.
Yeah.
This is from that era, so I'm very familiar with this. I love that cover though.
The art is fantastic.
I used to think the little technology like windpipe like neck musculature that was like really trendy at that time. I used to think that was really cool. I mean, it still does look cool, but yeah, you get a lot of these thick wires in this style of art with little perforations in them. I used to try to imitate that when I would try to draw too. It would be huge muscles where you're trying to fill in all the little veins that look like lightning things to be like, they're bulging muscles.
They're bulging
he's really
muscles.
stressing. He's really like putting stress on his body. Or you're drawing technology where you just draw like little building looking things to look like
Yeah.
those were the two big hallmarks of my art style when I tried to draw like this. So anyway.
In this recap, it introduces some character, or well, it talks about the characters, and basically what happened is that Iron Man is dead, as understood by Doom. We won't go into that too much because
I do like this version of Doom where they show a little bit of
Yes!
the scarring. I think it's important.
this eye in particular is gross.
I mean, if the reason he has that is to hide his disfigurement, it doesn't make sense that he would have a mask that doesn't quite fit. Like, he's a super rich like a world leader, like a dictator of his own country. You think, be like, could you get one with just slightly more eye material?
True.
But for his character, it really reminds us of like how grotesque he is underneath. You think his outside is fearsome looking.
Yes.
You don't want to smell what's under there. It's like taking
Exactly.
off a cast after
Exactly.
months.
And this isn't the Doom of the silence. You know, that the last Doom that we had in an episode was with
Daredevil, where he took over Daredevil's body.
Yes.
I think he switched bodies with Daredevil.
Yes.
And that was what, a late 60s or early 70s issue?
Early
It was one of the,
yes.
like, Daredevil 30 something.
So, of course, he said, if he only had a heart.
Doing a Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. A brain. The courage. Tin Man. And so he's talking to, oh, yes, this is Stan Lee Presents the Magical Mystery Tour, which I love the illustrations in this. This is fantastic artwork.
Wow, so the credits say Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb did the plot. Jeff Loeb did the script. And then for pencils, am I seeing this right? We have Will Portacio and Terry Schumacher,
Yes.
maybe. 3 different pencilers? Damn. And huge difference from the comic we were just looking at. We've got some computer people. Richard Starkings and Comic Craft's Albert Deschesne.
Or Duchesne.
Probably, yeah. I remember it being so pumped when you got that thing that you could
That
draw
Wacom?
on that plugged into the computer, and you could. I mean, I never made anything like this, but you could do the digital coloration of what you
Oh, yeah.
what you drew. It was really exciting.
I just recently found some of your old artwork that you did on that.
Yeah, I'll have to, maybe on our a special 50th episode or something.
Show some of your old
Some
artwork.
of my terrible artwork.
And I still have your X-Men radio show that you did.
You still have that? I was
I
hoping
have
you
it,
still have
yeah.
that. That would be funny. We should send it to Al.
And
I wonder
I
if
can
he-
make a copy.
I
My
wonder if
friend,
he'd wanna hear that.
my friend Steve put it on DVD or on CD.
Oh, cool.
So, anyway, so he's talking to Rebel, and you know, saying that Tony's dead. So
Weird that little beak-like thing they give
that reminds me of
armor.
Dr. Zaius.
Yes. He looks very monkey-like. Golden
So-
monkey.
As we turn page,
Ooh.
Doom is leaving, and Rebel, and what's here, turns to Iron Man and removes the mask, and it's actually Rebel and Tony Stark changed places because the Rebel wanted to go out a hero.
So Rebel was a
O'Reilly?
Doom creation?
Yeah,
Or he just betrayed Tony?
he was in, as we
Rebel
see,
O'Reilly.
yes.
Best
In-
friend since college. Whatever Tony did, Rebel was not far to follow. Connor Rebel O'Reilly was the jester of the Atomic Knights. Rebel and Tony challenged each other to reach new heights. This friendly rivalry would ultimately destroy their partnership. Rebel felt inferior around his comrade and desired nothing more than to have one accolade of his own. Field testing the Prometheum armor gave him that chance. Unfortunately, in the middle of the trial run, the armor malfunctioned. Rebel was killed, and the guilt would haunt Stark forever, or until Rebel returned from the grave. After an armored assault, Titanium Man and Crimson Dynamo fall to Iron Man's ingenuity. Before they do, they reveal their association with Hydra and give Iron Man the lead needed to take the battle to Hydra's front door.
I suppose we
got
should have
some
read
Rebel.
this.
That's okay. I think I get it. So they were
Friends.
working
Yeah,
together,
working
and then,
together, and-
yeah.
Look at the Savage Hulk.
It's weird when they
And
give him the long
Abomination.
hair. He's doing the middle part.
I know.
He was trendy then.
But that's
He was listening to Marilyn
You-
Manson and
Yes.
parting his hair in the middle. It
Oh.
was
so
he
yeah. and
probably
I-
did that. Ooh, ah. He did the
Ooh, wah.
guttural style
Yeah.
singing that was so popular.
Yeah, I should have brought up the whole Tony Stark's little group of pals there, and how he and Hulk, Bruce Banner, went to college together and knew each other.
Okay, so in this retelling, that it makes more
Yeah.
sense for them to all be acquainted. I think it built because then you get to see their relationship before they have powers and after.
And after
That's
that-
one gripe I have with Iron Man is how many of his villains are just different versions of him. We've been watching that CW Flash show, and I do like it, but we just started the 3rd season. It's like, you're really going to have another villain that's another person that runs really fast. Like, the best villain I like on that TV show so far is Captain Cold, and he doesn't have
Oh,
powers. He just
yeah.
is really clever in using
Yes.
He's tricky and he uses that gun, but besides that, I don't think he's a metahuman. But yeah, Flash is similar to Iron Man in that way. I mean, I guess there's a lot of we were just looking at that doppelganger Spider-Man an episode or
Yes.
two ago. So it's a trope, but some characters seem to get it more than others.
And I think, in a way, when you think of a character like Superman, it's like, who's going to beat Superman other than another Superman? Well, we need
Bizarro,
Bizarro Superman, although he's not quite as bright.
It's like a way for the writers to underscore, like, well, this is why, anybody could be fast or be in a mechanical suit, but this is why it takes a person with good conscious and like restraint, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
Bizarro's an
it's a
odd.
way to yeah, it's Bizarro's. I mean, it's not his fault he's like that, is it? He's doing his best.
He's trying. He's trying. So, yeah, Tony just wants to honor Rebel. And so we go to Doom here, and he said, "Yes, Victor, let others boast. But to have finally achieved total humiliation over Tony Stark, still thinking he's dead, only to realize that this planet itself may no longer exist." So he's realizing something's happening. He's got some knowledge that others don't. He goes, "Wait, or for what good is it to be king if there's no kingdom?" And then,
So that's supposed to be like a
crash!
Doombot kind of thing, like a
And who
Gargoyle.
dares?
You know, this I do like the little flesh thing on his eye. That's creepy.
That is really
But
creepy.
this page to me shows also, you can really tell there were like 3 different pencilers on this, because some of the art styles from page to page seem to. This one, more so than the first couple pages, seems to be like, oh whoa, we're radically shifting to a different level of detail in the pencils. To me, I don't know. I'm not trying to be picky
Yeah, no,
or,
good point,
or like
good
rip on the
point.
people that made this, because it's obviously very done at a very high level, but.
That is a lot of detail in that rubble.
Yeah, they spent all their time on the rubble. They're like, just put his face in shadows. I ran out of time with the rubble.
Darker!
Kevin Sorbo, he was popular at this time.
At one time.
Yeah. I think he's kind of like a crazy person now.
And so he's
That's
looking,
pretty
he goes,
cool.
"I dare."
What do you think about
Wham!
in this character design? They gave him these weird little like
The wing
They look like
things.
almost like a horn you would blow into. They're like jets, I think.
Yeah.
Propulsors, but they go up over his shoulders like that. It's
Where
kind of a
they're
weird look.
situated is a weird look.
Yeah.
Because it's like back behind his collarbones, but on his back. It's a weird position.
It's definitely makes me think of those Image comic characters. That were
Yes.
just like super muscle technology.
This will look cool and just
Not
don't
only
worry
do they
about
have huge muscles, their guns are even thicker and bigger than their muscles somehow.
their guns with guns. And,
Yeah.
yeah. So Doom realizes alive. And as always, Victor, you're a master of the obvious.
Interesting that they give Tony like he's talking through an intercom, kind of like it gives it like that crackly, trebly.
Yeah.
But wouldn't Doom have the same thing? He's talking through that weird rectangle, but he gets regular word bubbles. You think they would have given them contrasting to be like he's more of a metallic sound, and he's got pretty good reception on his.
Yeah, yeah.
I do like that drawing of his face.
So he's reaching back for this device, and he's like, "Let me make it perfectly clear that you will not survive another second." Tony pushes, he goes, "Idiot, you've activated the chronometer, hurling us back in." Time starts going backwards.
Oh no.
So that's what made this book interesting to me, is Time Jolt, New York City, 1 year ago. And I see,
Onslaught. Speak of the devil.
behold my mighty hand.
Well, that's
This is a
interesting.
great
Oh,
drawing.
the detail in his eyes are awesome.
That
This
is
is interesting because I think
great.
this is number 11, so
Yeah.
this is almost a year into the whole status quo changing. So it makes sense that I think they're trying to slowly, let's get back on track. They're going to come back to the main universe. We did our little Image adventure.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if
really
that was
like
planned all from the start. Like for 1 year, we'll have all these, like a modern retelling of the characters. Then we're gonna reset it, or if they were just like, let's play it by ear. If people really like it, we'll do it for 10 years. We'll keep doing it forever.
Yeah, let's see what works. And they have these little.
Yeah, it's weird to
But I
see the
cannot read that.
exposition things in typeface instead of the.
Yes.
I guess they're all a typeface, but what am I trying to say? It's like more. It looks more computerized than the font that they would use in older comics.
That's the computer part.
See Onslaught Marvel Universe Backish DS. That's helpful. Onslaught Marvel Universe.
But that's
I think we do
spectacular.
have that comic.
Really?
Marvel, because it's another fold out cover, and I think it's got a giant Onslaught and then a bunch of small characters heroes fighting him. I don't know if it's in my part of the collection or yours, but we'll have to pull
I'll
it
have
out.
to look for
It's
it.
very similar to the Death of Superman, where they're like, oh, some major characters might get killed, and this is
Okay.
like the battle of the century. He really just looks like if an Image artist drew Magneto. Just really buff. Magneto got new shoulder pads, basically.
Charles and Magneto's baby grew up.
Yeah, it's like, what is Charles bringing to the equation? All the muscles? I
Yeah.
mean, it's mostly Magneto's character design. They couldn't have given him a little bald head or something.
But yeah, that's fantastic drawing right there.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then Tom Jolt,
That derpy
Arizona.
Hulk face.
1 year ago. Yes. So can you imagine Time Jolt and Hulk's got his hand around your neck?
God.
And then they are, okay, so what's going on? So stay thy hand, Green Goliath, and Hulk.
Listen
And that
to
is
us.
1 year ago, right? No, years ago.
Yeah, I think
Years ago, okay.
even though it's been a year of Image artists doing this, maybe it's, the 11 issues have been several years of time. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I wonder if this is a callback to the Avengers Reborn, where Doom appeared out of nowhere. Hulk, like they're closing that loop to show like why did that
Oh.
happen? Because it says see Avengers Volume 1 Number 1, so it's probably it was a little teaser from that.
Okay.
That
I like
issue.
the aggressive Hulk here.
I like that Golden Age.
The
Iron
drawing
Man.
style from these three changes.
Very different.
Very, because he's almost a Frankenstein monster here.
They make him look so sad here.
I
He's got like a
know.
skirt. What's up with
His
that?
computer, give me anything. Ping, subject Stark. Anthony, biological and psionic makeup, cross-referencing, were identical to you. What? And who? What are you? They're the same. I'm a friend.
Looks like he's farting out of there. Gotta vent it somewhere.
It does look dim. It just looks dim.
Yeah, the mouth is just so far away from the eyes, similar to where the eyes are a little too close to the mouth here.
Yeah, he
where
looks like he took. That's right after a hard blow.
Yeah, and his face just didn't pop back.
So why are you here? Why indeed? And then Time Jolt.
Oh my God, is that
So
a
how
pirate,
far?
Ben Grimm?
Yes. So we go
Why does he
back,
have hair? It's weird. He never has hair.
and his computer is saying that energy levels are running low, and so Time Jolt, the ocean hundreds of years ago, and then it says here, but I can't read that, even with my glasses.
Way back in Fantastic Four Volume 1, Number 5, as a matter of fact.
We have to look that one up.
I
We
think I have that
to.
one. I'm pretty sure.
And it.
When Heroes Reborn started, I got definitely into Fantastic Four because we've got several of those downstairs, including the number 1 issue.
Oh, good.
I think I've got a couple more Iron Man. I definitely have 1 or 2 Captain Americas. I know. I think we have number 1, but I only got maybe number 2 or 3 after that. I'm not sure if I have Avengers Heroes Reborn, but I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, I'm confident that this Fantastic Four is somewhere. in
And
my
we
collection.
repeat this.
Maybe he glues it on just to blend in. It's like
You would have to. But we come into the Time Jolt with Tony.
Yeah, is that a part of
having
time travel where every time you pop into a new time, someone's
Some-
grabbing you by the throat?
That,
It's the only way to travel.
he goes, I don't know how you got aboard my ship, but then Ben, is that you? Huh? You know me? And then Bzark. Oh yeah, he goes, the
He's
thing
got a
here is dressed as
flamethrower.
Bluebird of all things.
Blue beard.
And the dim-witted Reed Richards cannot be far.
Dim-witted. He's like your main rival for.
I know. I found that funny.
I guess that's why he's got a exam.
Doom. So you got trapped back here with me, huh? So trapped back here with.
Oh,
So what are they saying?
He's
And
the
again,
modern Ben. He just
By the throat.
He's learned to blend in
Yeah, I
in
mean,
his
he's
circumstances. I mean,
making it work.
all 400 pounds of him on that ship.
On that wooden ship.
He's got to be more than 400 pounds.
You would think. You would think. And then we have
They let him soft report his weight.
Time Jolt, Camelot, 1,000 years ago. Victor, even you have to concede that only working together can we. I concede nothing, except that these visions are mine and mine alone to comprehend.
You know what? I think this is a shout out to there's a storyline called Doom Quest, I think, where it was an Iron Man Doctor Doom story. I think it's from the 80s, where they go back in time to like the Kingdom of Camelot
Well,
kind
that
of thing.
makes sense because Merlin
Yeah.
says the Men of Iron here again for the first time.
Again for the first time. Yeah, I bet this is, a retelling of that, because I think that's a pretty fondly remembered story. I think it's easy for them to blend in because they're both armored, so they're like, oh, they're just like knights.
Right,
They're
right.
knights from the future.
Right. Yeah, that does make more sense.
If they were going to go back in time, you'd want to be in a time where people wore full body armor if you,
Oh,
if
hell
you were
yes.
Doctor Doom.
And heed the warning. Your very existence is tearing apart the fabric of the universe. Mayhaps, Merlin's spells will be powerful enough to right these wrongs. So now we've got Merlin in the mix. Merlin, if you understand what's happening, tell us what we need to know. Time and time again holds the key. And then Time Jolt again.
Egypt.
2,000 years ago, Egypt. And his suit is telling him, Ping, that they're running out of energy, they're running out of battery, they're running out of... And so, Victor, at the rate we're traveling backwards in time, I imagine, Iron Man, that you are one of those insufferable oafs who talk during theater. He's such a...
Oh my God.
It is now clear that we are being delivered to these time periods for a purpose.
I like the idea of Doctor Doom going to a play or something. It got great reviews.
But he'd be like Frasier about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Get too intense. He'd be all up in their
He just wants to
business
be
about,
seen there.
Yes, about the wine they served at intermission. But anyway,
Are
really,
we going to get Kang the
then
Conqueror?
tell it to them. Yes, halt. Yes, almighty Pharaoh.
It's interesting that, so in the late 90s, they did The Heroes Reborn as a reboot. And obviously they're not going to totally change their origin stories, but just update it for the late 90s. But it's interesting how many references now, because this is a classic Fantastic Four storyline where they go back and
All right.
they fight against Rama Tut, who ends up being either Kang the Conqueror or like one of his variants or like ancestors or something like that. And they always hint that Kang might be a distant relative of Doom as well.
Well, and Victor Doom bows before no man, and the arrogance of youth. Can you not see what is coming, young Victor? What was and what will always be? What was and what will always be? And Tony's like, young Victor? Doom, do you know? So that...
No, it's their way of...
And then times Jolt 1 million years BC. And his suit is saying 60 seconds remain before offline cardiac arrest in 73.4 seconds. And we have this guy that they
Looks
are
like
viewing.
Firestorm from DC.
It does. But what is this? And Tony's like, what's going on? Stark, watch, learn. No, not now. Not when all the answers to the origins of the planet were to be laid before. And he continues with what's going on
they
in this
disappear.
big explosion. Me and Latveria now. So they got back. And Master, you've returned. Should we dispose of the one called Iron Man? And then Tony says, try it. And his suit, warning, 10 seconds remaining on internal power supply. And Doom just
Gosh, I
with
hope
a
that's not
swipe
loud
of his
enough for
hand.
Doom to hear.
Yeah, really. With a wave of his hand, he's like, "Stay your weapons. You can go, Tony Stark."
You think Doom's armor would have something in it that makes things more audible?
You would think so. He goes, "And take the body of Rebel O'Reilly, for even Doom knows when the time for fighting has ended." So something's up, and he got info from that little adventure that they went on.
Hey, this shows a little of what was going on at Marvel at the time.
Oh, here we go.
The Spider-Man, I think, did not get reborn. That reminds me. And I think some of these, like Daredevil, I'm not sure if he was a reborn character. But yeah, I really wanted one of these subscriptions at the time. I remember Al really liked Heroes for Hire. I read some of his comics, some Heroes for Hire comics, as well as I think that was one nice thing about having a friend to go to the comic book store with, because you could switch your issues
Yeah.
and read double the comics.
Look at his square jaw.
I think he was reading more of the X-Men too at this time than me, because I think I borrowed some of his as well. I remember liking Generation X.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the New Mutants of the 90s, I guess. And the other thing I wanted to say is this really shows how the musculature of men, like his legs are so long.
Yeah, he doesn't have much of a torso, but what he does is muscled out.
I know, it's like even a lean, skinny person is hugely buff. Like in this, like he's not supposed to be particularly muscular, but they're never gonna, like the body, the way that they depict. It's like those supposed to be some baggy suits, because as soon as they take the shirt off, they've got huge weightlifter muscles.
Yes.
Look, his neck's gonna burst through the tie.
But look at his face. I mean,
He's had a stroke from too much lifting. His body's shutting down.
that's Reed.
And he's pumped up. He's
He's-
taking steroids.
That's crazy. So
That's supposed to be Reed Richards.
Yeah.
They didn't even give him the little classic graying of the temples. That's how you know someone's smart.
Yep.
That's how you know they're a scientist or a sorcerer.
Yep. And just like that, Reed, it was over. As if whatever Doom saw in the past would forever change our futures. Of course, Reed, fascinating. Recently, the Fantastic Four had a similar experience, spinning alternative realities that somehow tie their very existence to this planet. Like you've been saying. And they're talking over
They're like, did you have to give him a Comic Sans font on his headstone? It's not quite Comic Sans, but it's a little goofy looking.
He says, a rift in time, in the time continuum. Golly, I can't get it out. It would answer so many questions.
It's almost like they forgot to put the script on there.
And they
by
went in
hand.
afterwards?
Yeah, because the angle's slightly off, it looks like.
It's
Like, if it
hard
was
to make it readable and
Yeah.
in perspective. That makes it tough. So Tony pays his respects to Riley. This is a weird drawing of him too. Like he's got
That's Reed again?
jowls.
He's got a gobstopper
No, this
in
is
his
Tony.
mouth.
Wait, yeah, that
It
has to
can't
be
be because he
Reed.
doesn't have the...
Right, he doesn't have the.
But it also shows you as much as I admired some of Jim Lee's art, or like the people that are drawing in his style here, sometimes the more mundane things, like just different human faces, kind of blend together a little bit.
Yeah.
Compared to like
Good
somebody
point.
who has a bunch of technology on their mask or whatever, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. He says, "While I concur, this is hardly the place for such speculation. I think we each shared an uneasiness in Connor O'Reilly's presence. In fact, how all our lives are intermingled, it must be for some greater purpose." Then you hear off in the distance, "It is."
You know, I think it says something about how certain artists have like a favorite hairstyle. Because I remember saying in one episode how many characters had curly hair.
Oh, yeah.
And this 90s style is all about either like the little
Swept back.
thin tendrils, or just like kind of pointy, or like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like there's a lot of points to them, especially. It's not
Oh,
like
yeah.
spiky, but
And look at his beard, how angular.
yeah, especially stuff like this, these bangs
Yeah.
giving a lot of points and arcs and edges to things. Oh, and we get
Get a watcher.
and he's been hitting the gym. He really did not skip shoulder day.
Yeah, exactly. Look at his wrist compared to his shoulder.
He really only goes for the shoulders.
He goes, and you will be given one last chance to fight for it. The devourer of worlds approaches. It is a terrible hunger he
Galactus.
brings. And have you come to join us? Will you rid us in stopping what you have foretold? I have done what I could do. My sole task now is to watch. But there will be others when heroes reunite.
So we're coming to an end of the Heroes Reborn era. We're in the Heroes Reunited era.
Look at his arms. They're bigger than
Also,
people.
look at how small Doc Samson's waist is. He's
Doc
got-
Samson can lift, what did it say, 48 tons or something? 28 tons? He doesn't have,
He
and
would
Hulk,
snap in half.
he and Hulk can fight.
Hulk's got a really thin waist as well. It's weird that
That's true.
these days they make him quite broad. It is the more
whole-
popular.
yes.
This he's like the Watcher. They go to the gym on
Same.
shoulder day, and then they starve themselves the rest of the week. He's got the
His
Rachel
hair.
haircut.
Yes.
Something like that.
I thought this was I did do a little reading about this comic, but how they talked about how Doc Samson and Hulk actually can fight, but he could never beat Hulk because what is the magic of Hulk? The madder he gets, the stronger he gets, and
That's
there's
how
no
they beat
end.
Onslaught.
Yes, there's no end to his anger, so there's no end to how powerful he is.
That's how this universe started. Is they figured the only person that could crack Onslaught's armor would be Hulk, because if he gets mad enough, he'll just get strong enough eventually, and he does. And he punches the armor, and it like opens up some dimensional rift that they're like, if we all jump into it, it'll defeat him. I don't know how that makes any sense, but that's how this universe was born.
And it made a teenage rock star emo Hulk out of
He's
it.
still got his purple pants though.
He does.
You think he'd have cargo pants in this era?
And
Those
that
were
is
popular.
it. The Hulkbusters.
That was a pretty memorable one.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was.
I mean, there's definitely comics that are
The
yours.
artwork,
From
yes.
I was too younger, but I still remember reading them. But it's fun to look at some of the ones that I bought or that you bought for me when I was a kid, because sometimes it's a little more vivid.
The artwork is fantastic, though. I mean, some
Or
things
it's fun
are.
to show them to you, because at the time I don't know if you would have
I
read
didn't read it.
this.
I didn't.
I would probably just take it to my room and keep it there.
Yep, I did not read it, and when I saw it, I got excited. I love the cover art.
Yeah, you've had a bunch of my late '90s comics. I look forward to seeing them.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
We'll have to look at the Fantastic Four Heroes Reborn. I remember enjoying that.
I'd like to see some of those stories where they go back in time.
I don't know about the font up here. It looks a
Yeah,
little.
that's yeah.
I don't
yeah.
know.
But this is nice. Dr. Zayas on the cover. I just can't unsee Dr. Zayas.
Yeah, it's
That's-
almost like they gave Iron Man a little bit of the beak-like.
Well, and I think
face
that's to
plate,
represent
too.
that Tony was in O'Reilly's armor. They switched armor.
Oh yeah, that makes
so it's
sense.
kind of a hint, a little Easter egg there.
That was a cool one though. Great art. I know I
Really
was being
good
a
art.
little critical of it, but
Really good art.
if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And we're almost to the number of subscribers we need to do a free giveaway of a special foil cover issue of Iron Man, actually. It's not this one. So if you want that, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll send it off to a random fan. Thanks for watching.